Board of Public Works meeting, I hear an echo, of Monday, January 20th to order. Number 2, approval of minutes of January 6th. Motion by Mr. Jokic, second by Mr. Fisher. Comments, questions, corrections? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Time out. So we got to get some entertainment here while Dan tries to fix the echo. Isn't technology great? Hello.
Testing 1 2 1 2.
Okay, I think I got it.
We'll wait for Dan to come back.
Yeah.
Tom fixed it. Speaker was on here.
Speaker's on this key. We're getting back.
It's good.
Gone.
Tom turned that off.
Yeah, this TV was serving the mic.
It's good.
It's
Yep. Okay, citizens' comments. I see no one else here other than for our next item. So we'll go on to number 4. Consideration of request for one-way alley in the West 600 block of North Central Avenue, presented by Tom Turkey, City Engineer. Tom.
Okay, our office received a request to review the possibility of changes to the travel direction in the alley behind the Weiler's convenience store. Our office received a written request for a one-way alley behind Weiler's in the 600 block of North Central Avenue, request enclosed. In the letter, the homeowner identified as cars blocking their driveway. This could be addressed by the placement of no standing anytime signage placed on the north and south sides of the driveway. Currently, the only alleys in the immediate downtown are posted one way. Speed limits are not posted in alleys within the city of Marshfield, so the maximum speed limit someone could drive would be 25. In a review of traffic crashes over the last 5 years, there have been no recorded traffic crashes in this specific alley. From crash review, the alley is operating at an acceptable level of safety. No traffic counts were collected due to weather conditions. So therefore, a recommendation was the placement of R7-4 no standing anytime signs on each end of the driveway. Also, just for comment, there were options that can be considered by the Board of Public Works for the alley would be for the one-way for northbound traffic. This would direct vehicles leaving Weiler's site to head northbound to Franklin Street. You could go southbound traffic one way. This would be consistent with west alleys along Central Avenue. This option would direct traffic south to Edison Street, or you could leave it with no change and let it be two-way alley like the rest of the alleys north of Veterans Parkway. So that's my recommendation at this time.
Okay, citizens, somebody want to speak? Go ahead. Say your name and address and go to the podium, please.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the time to express my feelings towards this situation. My name is Christine Vogel-Tisber, and I reside at 607 North Chestnut Avenue. I'm here regarding issues that have occurred over the last several years, but have gotten worse in the more recent months with the Weiler convenience store. I started this process in June of last year in 19. By attempting to contact Mr. Fire, who is my alderman, and I have not had any concern. I have not had any feedback with him at all, and no assistance. So I did call the city hall in November and asked who I could address the situation to, and was directed to Mr. Turkey. I spoke with him November 18th. At that point, he asked me to put my concerns into writing and address Mr. Hembrook also, as I have done. I have a copy of those letters if anybody would like to read them. In response, and I also have the response letters too and I have copies of those if anyone would like to read them. Just to touch base, I was requesting a one-way alley in that block. Reason being that with 5 operating washing stalls and bays, the vehicles are coming out in both directions and causing traffic issues. No, there has not been any accidents, but I watch it daily where vehicles come and turn into each other. I find it a little frustrating having to wait and have the vehicles figure out which way they're going to be going. My driveway is directly across from one of the bays. I have had numerous issues getting in and out of my driveway due to standing vehicles, waiting to get air in their tires, drying off vehicles, pulling in my driveway, or just backing up due to lack of direction to drive. I have reached out to ordinance officers in order to correct some of these situations. I do have pictures of vehicles parked with nobody in them right in front of my driveway where I'm not able to get in. So I had to call an ordinance officer to try and find who was the owner of the vehicles. And I do have those pictures also. There's been lack of courtesy in the snow removal, as my husband and I have called the street department numerous times over the last several years to have the city clear the alley, as Mr. Weiler took it upon himself to remove the snow from his property, and while completing this task, found my driveway shut. I don't believe that he is allowed to be plowing in the alleyway. Correct me if I'm wrong. The sidewalk on Essen Street, which I tend to walk on a daily basis, is also completely plowed shut. I guess if that's going to be the ongoing thing, maybe I should shovel my sidewalk. If he's not held responsible, why does the citizen have to be held responsible? I really am begging to have some considers, and I struggle with this, and I've been patient, and I really struggle with this. So to have some restrictions on the business to limit the confusion in the alleyway. And I would like to also enjoy my investment as a homeowner and purchaser in the city of Marshfield. In my letter, I expressed more issues, and I don't believe that this is the time or appropriate time unless you care to hear them. But I thank you for listening to me tonight, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weiler.
Hi, Wayne Weiler. I oppose the one-way signs. Our semi-truck that delivers fuel comes in from the south side, heads north. And in order to get in there, that's the only good option for him to do that. The other thing that he could do is come off the main street, but that's backing off of Central, and that's a hazard. He can't come from the north because the Franklin Street's too narrow to go on from Franklin onto the alley. Customers that come out of the car wash, some do head north, some get out and go into the parking lot and towel their vehicles off their windows and stuff like that. Now, the snowplow issue, a lot of times that was because of when the snowplow comes through, the end loader comes through, the windrows come off of both sides. What I would do is always take that windrow and push it to the south and, to the north. Sometimes I do go to the south. I push it up behind our store. Both Edison and Franklin, they have the snow comes off of both sides there, and I push it into the edges and get it off the roadway. I don't push it in front of their door or driveway. I used to actually clean it out in front of their driveway, but that's one of the things I won't be doing. One of the things that they asked when I put up the car washes is, where are you going to push the snow? I said, to the north, and they were fine with that. It needed to go to the north in front of the car wash, needed to go to the north and behind the car wash. And As far as I know, I wasn't doing anything wrong as far as the alleyway, getting that cleaned out. Trying to be neighborly and keep everything cleaned up, but apparently some people don't agree. But one way would not work for me or for my customers. My customers have just as good of a reason to be there as Tisfers do. So that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, did we all get, I don't want a bunch of repeats now. If anybody has anything different, if you want to speak, go ahead. Otherwise, if you covered everything you wanted to cover relating to this issue, we'll go to the board and ask what they think. Did you have anything you wanted to say? Yeah. Okay. Board, what's your recommendation? Mr. Bargander.
I guess I'll start things off here. I'm sure the rest of the members here will have comments too. The 5 bays are located on that lot that's furthest to the north, okay? So that's closest to Franklin Street, correct? And I feel that if we're going to go with a one-way, we would go to the north only. That would get those people out of the car wash, out of the alleyway the quickest. And if we were to post signs, I would imagine that the signs would say one way, and on that same signpost, we would post that no standing or stopping at any time. And that would probably eliminate some of the issues that Vogel Tisvers are experiencing. As far as the fuel truck, if we go to the north, Mr. Weiler stated that the fuel truck comes in from the south, so that fuel truck could still continue to come in from the south and exit to the north, or however it exits there. So I guess that's my recommendation, that we would go to the north and post proper signs in the alley, that when the people exit the car wash bays, that would be right in front of the bays, so there was no mistake that they would not be able to see it. We may even have, because of 5 bays, we may have to put at least 2 signs there staggering between the bays or right across from the bays. So that's my take on the situation. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Jockey.
We don't have a clear diagram map of the new facility. This one, or is this the map you have?
Go ahead, Tom.
No, I don't have it would be piecemealed of different projects put together if I were trying to grab the building inspection maps. This map is from our 2015 aerial flyover. We're expecting our 2020 aerial flyover here this spring.
Mr. Jockey.
Well, roughly, I can see the convenience store, and then there's another building shown to the north.
That's the former house that was there before
You had a second building that was there already, and then
car wash was there.
The car wash, but you've expanded that now, correct? I mean, basically that the new building just goes straight north. Okay, all right. I'm not sure what a one-way would accomplish. I can understand the putting a couple of signs up or whatever we need to put up so that there's no stopping or no standing up there. I think that's the one that makes most sense, because that would eliminate anyone, or hopefully eliminate anyone stopping in the alley, which would block your driveway. That should accomplish that. I'm not sure that the one-way necessarily would accomplish anything more than that. And as far as the snow removal, I think it's incumbent on neighbors to be neighborly and do your best not to push snow into other people's driveways. How you accomplish that on that small of a lot, I don't know, but that's the responsibility of the property owner.
Mr. Jockey, if I could, so we can have Discussion, I would entertain a motion, whatever you want to do.
I'll
Mr.
make a
Jockett.
motion that we take the recommendation from Mr. Turchi, these no standing any time signs
Okay.
and not change the direction. It would still be two-way because I think that would be just too confusing there, but the no stopping or standing should accomplish what you're looking for without inhibiting anything of the customers at the convenience store.
Do I have a second to Mr. Jockett's motion?
So yeah, that's my motion.
Do I have a second? I would second that one. Discussion. Mr. Bargander.
I guess I am more in favor of exiting those cars away from there to the north. I guess if we could try just the stopping, no stopping, standing signs, and if it still becomes a problem, I guess we could come back and revisit this and reconsider a one-way in that alley. I guess the petitioners are looking for a one-way alley. That's what they're looking. They haven't stated if they'd be more comfortable to the north or to the south, but they did state that they're looking for a one-way alley because of, if you read close in the letter, the petitioners, Vogel-Trisver, said that there was numerous close calls, short braking, stopping there. So I would really like to entertain, I mean, if whatever happens with Chris's motion, of course, but if it comes to that, I think we could maybe also entertain something for a one-way alley. Thank you.
Mr. Fire.
I've got a question to Wayne. The truck's got to go into the north, right? Does it back out, or does it go out, or does it exit out north? Drives out? So a one-way going that way would alleviate a certain problem there. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Wayne, could you use the microphone, please? This is being broadcast, so.
I think, if you have them going just to the north, you're gonna have people stopping right there in the alley, not moving, and doing their mirrors, doing their windows, and then taking off. That seems to be more of a problem that I would see with the one-way heading north.
Go ahead, Mike.
but you could alleviate that with a one-way going to the north and no stopping, standing sign.
But if you're still on the parking pad yet, they can stop there. It's still on our property.
Correct.
Mr. Turchi has a comment.
With the no stopping and standing, what I'm recommending is just for the driveway itself, because all of our alleys are designed for loading and unloading. So there is businesses that load and unload through our downtown and through all of our other locations. So it would be just to make sure that the driveway itself remains open at all times.
Mr. Fisher.
So I just want to clarify now from what you said. So you're saying the driveway of Weiler is coming out, or the driveway of
Their driveway.
resident?
I would just post their driveway.
The other thing that would bother me, if you're going to have the alley going to the north, then that's contrary to the downtown, because they would be going the opposite way. I think there's some confusion there. But anybody else? Mr. Jockett.
Well, there's only one driveway, residential driveway.
Yes.
So does anyone come into your facility from the alley, you think?
Yes, they come out of the car wash.
Right, coming out of the car wash, but entering into your,
Yes, they do from both directions.
they do, okay. And is there enough room for them to exit? And there's a pad, exit the car wash,
Park
sit there, park
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
The next vehicle coming out is certainly not coming out that quickly.
Correct.
So they could do that without, I mean, they should be doing that without getting into the alley.
Right.
And can you post a sign to that effect
What
at
kind
the
of-
entrance of the car wash?
What would it say, or what are you looking?
Well,
No parking outside, or
yeah. If you are toweling off your car, and don't sit and block other traffic. I don't know how to word it, but I mean, there should be some responsibility for signage from you if your customers are inhibiting the flow of traffic on a public alley. I mean, just a suggestion that
I've never seen anybody park in front of their driveway, but
I think Mr. Jakic, what Mr. Churchy's recommending would take care of that with his signage.
Right. I think that's the simplest thing to do, I think, is to go with the signage of no stopping or standing in the alleyway in right around the driveway of the Vogel.
I don't want that on my property. I'm not going to be going around that.
We got to use the mic if you're going to speak, okay? Or the guy's going to come out and...
I'm requesting that the signs are not posted in my yard, because I would have to weed whack around them, mow around them. So, any suggestions other than that, I would really appreciate that.
Mr. Churchy.
The signs would have to be placed on either side of the driveway on your side of the street. The alley does not go all the way over to your property line, so they would be located on city right-of-way within the alley, but they would be in the grass terrace right next to the asphalt.
Where I would have to maintain that.
Yeah, that's the only place we could put them to be enforceable.
To me, that is an inconvenience to me.
there's a big telephone post.
Could try to,
Mr. Jakic.
Well, the reality is a lot of us have signs, a stop sign or a stop ahead sign or a telephone pole or the support for a telephone pole in our properties, and we have to deal with those. I mean, you got to give a little bit too. We're trying to resolve your issue that you are raising to us, and if the suggestion is a sign, we back around it.
Well, in that case, could I just post a sign? I mean, would it have to say an ordinance number underneath it?
It wouldn't be enforceable by the city, I don't believe. Mr. What's your name? Connect.
Thank you. I was just going to say that no matter what solution is, unless there's do nothing is the option, there's going to be signs in the alley along somebody's yard. If one way is the chosen alternative here, you're going to have to be one-way signs pointing northbound that are right out in front or as you leave the bays. Mm-hmm. So those people leaving the bays will know that they have to turn right and go north. Unfortunately, that's going to end up in your yard and your neighbor's yard, as those bays are all facing, looking to the west. There's going to have to be signs there that somebody's going to have to mow around.
So it wouldn't be at the north and south end of the alleyway. You're saying that there would have to be more?
There would be signs there as well, but how does somebody pulling out of that car wash bay know that it's only a one-way if there's no sign out in front of them? They're not familiar with the alley, so you're going to have a sign directly across from those bays in somebody's yard that's pointing to the north.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. I understand what this recommendation is trying to accomplish, but going off of what the resident is saying, and I haven't seen the pictures, if there is a issue with traffic going both ways, we're still not solving that part of the issue. Ideally, we would be solving the issue of them stopping in front of their driveway. I'll be honest, coming into this, I was thinking about going one way no pun intended, but now I'm thinking about going another way on this. So I understand the recommendation and I appreciate it, but I do think having some type of one-way just gives a flow for traffic where it's less confusing when you come out.
Yeah, I'm not trying to take sides here, but you heard it's the one way is going to have to be to the north. I think Mr. Weiler said, or your other option is going off from Central with those tanker trucks and blocking traffic. That's the concern there. Am I right, Mr. Turchi, on that? Whatever you decide, one way or the other, but if they have to go on Central Avenue, we got rid of that with the cold storage years ago. They semis used to be out there blocking traffic. So I just want to get all the information we can here. Anybody else? Ready to vote? Mr. Fire, go ahead. Yeah,
when we had 2 bays, it wasn't quite as congested, but with 5 bays now, you've got a lot more cars making a lot more movement in that area. And I can see, being that's in my ward, I can see that it makes sense to control that traffic one way or another. And I suspect that with the semi driver having to turn in there, northbound is the way it should go. And I think we should possibly consider that as one way, just because of the amount of traffic. Technically, if all 5 people get in that bay at one time and they all come out at the same time, you're going to have congested. If one wants to go one way and one the other way, that can be a problem. It's not a 2-way street.
Okay, the motion on the floor, Mr. Connect, would you read that, please?
Well, I would just like to clarify, because the motion wasn't sure if you intended it to be the no standing at any time on both ends of the alley or both ends of the driveway.
Mr. Jockek, that was your motion. Mr. Fisher.
I will make that friendly amendment and have it include a one-way going northbound.
Go ahead, Mr. Jock. Could I get a second on that?
It's a friendly amendment.
Okay, second by Mr. Fire. Mr. Fire or Mr. Jockek, you had your hand
Okay,
up.
so we'll still post signs of no stopping and standing around the neighborhood. Okay. Right. And is there a problem with anyone doing that? Your semis will still be able to get in and out.
What about?
And your traffic will be pointed to go north. So
what about when I'm plowing the snow?
I
mean,
you'll have to go to the south, and that's what you're saying.
Well,
you're concerned.
You plow to the north, but you got to back up to the south. I'm still backing.
I doubt. I would hope that the police or anyone else, as long as you're not plowing in someone's driveway, I don't think that's going to be. There can't be that much traffic going on. People probably are not washing their car while you are
same
plowing.
thing when there's never 5 cars come out of the car wash at the same time.
Well, we got to do something here.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this sounds like that's the best solution from our perspective. Let's try this, see what happens. I mean, unless there is absolutely, you can say for sure that it's not going to happen. Let's give it a try.
Well, what I look at is the one-way signs. I can't abide by it if I'm plowing that back behind there.
I think that would be respected.
Mr. Bargander.
So I guess it kind of boils down to when I spoke first, but the only thing I'd like to see is, because Vogel's Tisser were concerned about the amount of signs, if we could, if possible, post those signs on the same post, or maybe put both of those signs on the same post. We have two one ways, also have 2 no stopping standing on each of those posts. It would probably eliminate some of the amount of signs there. I think we have a pretty good solution going here right now. I think it'll work out for everyone involved.
Go ahead.
As Wayne was saying, I do have a telephone pole on the south side of the driveway. Post, if we can't, I don't know if there's a rule because it's the telephone pole and who actually owns that, but if it's something could be even put on that, I mean, that would be amazing, you know, to save one little thing. I don't live in a mansion. I don't live, you know, but I try to keep up as well as I can.
Mr. Connect.
Thank you. I think this is probably worth trying, good solution, but I do think it's worth reviewing after a period of time to see if there's something we're not thinking about that creating another problem by solving this problem. Whether that's 3 months or 6 months, I'm not sure, but I do think we should make a point of reviewing it again. I have one question for Chris back there, and if do you know which way we plow that alley, and does that, by making that one way, does that mess up our plowing route on that side of Central Avenue?
Wrong direction.
I didn't bring the plow mat with me tonight, Dan, so I don't know, but I could get you that information within a half an hour if you'd like.
Well, either way, I think this is still worth trying. It may impact that route there. It does go south.
Right, thank you.
There we go.
Just so we're clear, and I'll get to you, Mr. Jonkek, there's going to be more than one-way sign.
Yes, there will be.
Because coming out of all the northernmost car wash, they've got to see that as well, that you can only turn right coming out of the car wash. Mr. Jonkek.
Well, we have to have the one-way posted down at either end of it as well. So some neighbor is going to have to go and weed whack around a sign. So I would hope that you would be considerate in saying, if they have to, I may have to. So let's make sure that the signage is put in a position where it's effective to alleviate your concerns and your situation. Do we need to make that part of the motion that we address this in 6 months? That gives us the rest of the winter and early spring? Or?
I don't think it needs to be part of the motion. We'll add it to our future agenda to bring it.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Bargain.
So just one last thing. Chris brought up a good point, and that we would have to sign the other end of the alley stating that it is a northbound
right
only. So we're looking at 3 signs.
At least.
I think 3, maybe 4. Maybe 4. Okay.
Because if you put it on that post that you're talking about, Chris, the people coming out of the more northern bays are not going to see that. They don't come into the alley to the car wash. They come in off from Central. So there's probably 4. Go ahead, Mr. Bargender.
No, okay. That was my question. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we got it covered completely, not just halfway. So like Vogel's or Tisver's mentioned that, you know, there was traffic both directions, and those car washes are nice. I like them. I use them myself, and I know they get a lot of usage. And I can see that there's going to be quite a bit of traffic down that alleyway. So we want to control that best we can, make it safe and convenient for everyone there. Thank you.
Mr. Turchi.
Just to let you know, when we put signs up, we take a look at that after you've made the recommendations. We're going to look at the proper location for those signs, where they're going to be effective, and do what we can for the placement of those. Because we know that realistically, the police are probably not going to be out trying to enforce these signs. It's probably going to be in a situation where they are stopping for coffee and they can't see it or something like that. But we want to try to make the signs do the direction, not the police.
Anybody else? Clear on the motion now, everyone, with the amendment? All right, go ahead, Dan.
We would need to vote on the amendment first.
Yes. Okay, would you read the amendment? Still got to vote on it.
We had a motion by Fisher, second by Fire, to amend the previous motion to post the alley as a one-way northbound. So that's the amendment.
Okay. All in favor of that amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. Okay, now the motion, Mr.
So the original motion was to recommend a placement of the no standing anytime sign in that block on either end of the driveway. Now, with the amendment, it would include both the no standing sign as well as posting it as a one-way north.
Okay, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you, folks. I voted twice against it because I want to go by the recommendation that Mr. Churchy. But so be it, and we will bring it back, review it, and see where it's at. Thank you, guys. Okay, number 5, approval of proposal for space needs study for the street division, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan.
Thank you. You'll recall last month we reviewed a proposal from b.Resolution Design and Consulting for the space needs over at the city garage. And during that discussion, the board wanted to be sure there was also some detail provided about the estimate for a new site, what it would cost, how big of a site would be needed, and so forth. So I went back to the consultant and asked to make sure that this was defined in their scope of services. They did update their proposal. The fee as well changed just a bit. But now they do have a task in there to develop a hypothetical site plan, not on a specific site, but the ideal site, what would be the configuration, length, width, acreage, and then develop some cost estimates for us on a new site that we can compare to a solution on the existing site. And I think that's a good approach to looking at the range of alternatives there. So you'll recall also, though, a motion was made last meeting, but not acted on. So the recommendation in my memo tonight is a little bit different than normal because we have this motion from last time that's hanging out there. So what I'm asking you to do is take action on motion PW 19-102, which was a motion by Jockek, second by Fisher, to recommend approval of the proposal of b.Resolution Design and Consulting for the space needs planning and conceptual design for the street department, and authorize staff to accept the proposal. In other words, we don't need a new motion. We just need to vote on that motion.
Is it clear to everybody? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Number 6, consideration of request for residential garbage collection at 2909 West Veterans Parkway, presented by Dan Connect, Director of Public Works. Dan.
Thank you. So some of you who have been on the board remember this discussion from back in 2012. Norm Stoiber at 2909 West Veterans had requested that his 5-unit apartment building be considered for city garbage collection. And as background, our current city collection contract collects recycling and solid waste garbage from single-family, 2-family, 3-family, and 4-unit apartment building. Mr. Stoiber contends that because he lives in one of the units, he's only renting out 4 units, and it should be treated like any other 4-unit building. And he had a letter back from 2012 with his rationale for that position. Mr. Stoiber recently stopped in to meet with the mayor about this issue, asking it to be reconsidered. The mayor asked that I put it on the board agenda. So when this item came before the board back in 2012, it was on a night where there's only 4 members of the board present, and they were split on this issue. There was 2 motions, both of them failed. One was to deny the request, one was to approve it. So it came out of the board with no action. The matter was then taken up by the Common Council, and there was a tie vote that evening as well on this 5-5. And so there's not a clear answer on this. There's no right or wrong. The likelihood of setting a precedence is pretty small, in that there are unlikely any other 5-unit building owners with 1 unit being occupied by the owner. Fairly unique situation. On the other hand, would add about $550 to the city's annual cost for garbage collection if we were to add those 5 units into the city contract at the rates that were current. So I don't have a recommendation tonight. However, if the board were to look favorably on this request, I would recommend a motion similar to that which was considered in 2012, and that was adding conditions to the approval with a condition that the owner must live in one of the units and must certify on an annual basis that he continues to live in that unit. And of course, if somebody else were to come along who has a 5-unit building and living in one of the units, you'd likely need to treat that situation the same. I did review with the city assessor, what do we have on record for other 5-unit buildings? And we don't have other 5-unit buildings that we could track down. There are a couple odd properties where we have 2 homes on the same parcel. So they appear to be a 5-unit parcel. One is at the corner of Chestnut and Depot, where there's a 3-unit building and then a 2-unit building right next to each other, but they're on the same property. So first glance, it looked like it was a 5-unit building, but it's two separate structures. So it's not likely that there are other 5-unit buildings of this type that would be in the same situation.
I think it's I think it's a thing that's somewhat related to, I know I got a store owner in my district on Central Avenue that the downtown apartments, they don't get garbage pickup. And you start amending this. Now, this is just one, but we got to be just a little careful as to adding other ones to this. And I don't know how many businesses or apartments there are, but that's something to keep in mind. Mr. Fire.
I'm going to make a motion.
And this would qualify for him to get garbage pickup. Then, do I have a second? Mr. Fisher, comments, questions? Okay, go ahead, Dan.
I would just confirm what Alderman Butke mentioned is that our downtown residential apartments, regardless of how many there are, don't get city collection. And the theory there is the residential use is a secondary use. The commercial use on the first floor is the primary use. They're required to have garbage and recycling collection on their own. And so the residential tenants would just follow along with whatever the commercial use is doing on the bottom. So that's true that those are residential apartments that are fewer than 5 that don't get city pickup. So.
And do we have roughly how many apartments? There's quite a few, I believe.
I don't have that number.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Jockett.
The motion was to recommend adding 2909 West Veterans Parkway to the city's refuse and recycling collection services contract under the condition that owners certify their primary residence is one of the 5 units of the property on the property, and that be done on an annual basis.
Anybody? Go ahead.
I'm reading your, this is the background from 2012.
Yes.
And at that point, you say to add all 7 5-unit apartments. There must be 7 5-unit apartments someplace?
Yeah, I don't recall what we found back in 2012. When I looked just recently with the city assessor, we did not find 7. We found.
So we don't know that there aren't out there.
Oh, you're pretty
well, if they were 5-unit buildings like this building, that we would know. What we might not know is if there's multiple smaller buildings on the same parcel where they look like a duplex and they're totaling more than 5 units on a property. But the ones that I mentioned, we're already picking those up. So we wouldn't be looking to add anybody else if this passes.
So that this is not adding, they're opening up some other can of worms of not from 5 to 6?
Well, not for this type of a situation. You're always going to have the next request. Well, they did it for this property owner. Why can't my commercial property be added to the city contract? You know, what other request comes next? You would have to consider it on its own merit.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Fire doesn't want this. I said, Mr. Fire probably doesn't agree with this. Number 7, plan review and authorization to seek bids for West 2nd Street, Central Avenue to Doege.
West Cleveland.
West Cleveland, yes. I saw Cleveland. Presented by Tom Turchi, City Engineer. Tom.
All right, I'll hit up the highlights for the schedule that we're proposing. And tonight we were doing the plan review and then preliminary resolutions for the project. We start advertising here in January and February with looking to have bids received on March 9th. We bring those back to the Board of Public Works around March 16th, and then to the Common Council on the 24th of March, and then start preparing the contract for paving for this project. We'd have probably 1 or 2 more public informational meetings prior to construction. And tentatively, we'd say there would probably be a start of construction sometime late April, early May. And I was just guessing at 200 days, but I don't think it's going to take that long. And we'd have it completed in 1 year, construction year. So I'll kind of go through the project itself to kind of explain some of the project. This project is kind of morphed from what we originally proposed to being a lot more detailed than what was originally planned. So Cleveland Avenue is ditched from Doege Street to Walnut Street, and there's 1,388 feet there that's ditched that will be converted to curb and gutter at 32 feet wide. Then you have from Walnut Street to Central Avenue, which is concrete. There's 827 feet there. This project was not originally intended to be part of this overall project. The sanitary sewer was planned to be replaced on the center, but our water utility felt that it was to their best interest to replace the water main, so that basically they're damaging or enough of the road is being removed that we added this street into it and are doing what we can to reconstruct these streets and get the best end product for this. So basically we'll be reconstructing approximately a half mile of street with this project. The sanitary sewer main that's being replaced on Cleveland is 2,058 feet. We're changing it from 6-inch vitrified clay to PVC. As you know, we've tried to line vitrified clay in the past. It just doesn't work. So we're in the process of now just trying to replace vitrified clay in the city. With that project, our wastewater treatment plant asked to add a couple other streets to the overall project, which Chestnut, Oak, and Pine adds another 1,036 feet of sanitary sewer replacement for a total of 3,094 linear feet of sanitary sewer replacement. With Pine Avenue being a ditch street, the majority of that street will be destroyed as part of the sanitary sewer replacement. We're looking to convert Pine from a ditch street to a curb and gutter street, and it'll be consistent with what's up in that neighborhood because Chestnut will be curb and gutter and Blodgett is curb and gutter. Water upgrade on this project from Central Avenue all the way over to the water tower will be an upgrade to remove dual mains in portions of the project, as well as upsize the mains from 6-inch to 16-inch. So they have another feeder from the water tower over to Central Avenue. So in the first 2 blocks, we're trying to save some of the curb and gutter and some of the sidewalk. We'll be replacing the concrete pavement with an asphalt pavement and replacing the curb and gutter on the north side because the water main project will damage the majority of all that curb and gutter on the north side. So you'll see asphalt basically starting at Central Avenue and going all the way over to Doege Street. With the curb and gutter, there's some storm sewer that needs to be added. There are 2 different low points in this project that we'll be running that storm sewer to. And with this project, we still feel that with all the proposals that we have going, it still will remain within budget from my original estimates. Because there's going to be a wide variety of cost sharing with the various utilities. The water utility is going to be putting in some dollars to help us rehab some of the streets, as well as the wastewater utility. The one big issue we had that was kind of a challenge with this project is there's quite a difference in elevation change between the north side and south side homes. which really made trying to make all the ADA compliant items on this project actually fit. We have a lot of warping taking place in the asphalt pavement. There's sections where we don't have a crown where it actually flows from one curb all the way over to the next curb. So we had to really take and do a lot of work to make the curb ramps, the pavement, and the project fit every parcel on this project, dealing with a lot of the old properties. If you have any questions on what we're proposing, please ask them. I'll invite you guys to additional public informational meetings as we get completed with design. So therefore, I'd recommend approval of the plans as submitted and approval of the schedule.
First of all, Mr. Connect.
Just wanted to add two things to what Tom said. He mentioned replacing vitrified clay instead of lining it. That's really in the 6-inch size. Larger sizes of vitrified clay we can line just fine, but the 6-inch size is too small for all the equipment, especially the cutting open up of service laterals. So we found that replacing 6-inch vitrified clay is about the only option. And then to mention another funding source is the local road improvement program. That's some state funding that we've got about $105,000 that's going to help us pay for curb and gutter that's going in on this project. As you know, we've tried to get some curb and gutter conversion projects through the CIP in the past, where we've taken ditch streets and upgrade them to curb and gutter, and it's been hard to get those funded. But because we have funds here that we're targeting for this curb and gutter, we feel pretty good about converting this street curb and gutter while we have it torn up, and that. While it was a challenge in working with the grades there and getting curb and gutter, it's probably easier to make curb and gutter fit than try to get ditches in those and make them manageable.
Do I have a motion? Let's see, Mr. Bargander this time, second by Mr. Fisher. Comments, questions, Mr. Jockett.
I was commenting to Mike and Adam, so I may have missed what you said. Is it being an older section of town, we're checking for lead-based water lines, water supply lines?
The lead is actually taken care of by our water utility, not by our office. And they do put that program out. We have advertised that as part of our public informational meetings that we put out there. And they continue to try to abate lead whenever they can. This project, with the replacement of the water main on Cleveland, they will be replacing the water services out to the back of the sidewalk, both north and south sides. So they'll know who's got lead and who doesn't, and probably try to do more sales pitches at that point.
Must be some funding available elsewhere.
Yes.
Or to defray the cost of the homeowner, but now would be the time to at least make sure that is discussed. I'm sure the water utility is well aware of that.
Yeah, the water utility has a $3,500 rebate for the conversion of lead, working with a local plumber. And just to remind everyone, we also have the pilot program for the sanitary sewer. So the work that we do in the right of way of replacing the sanitary sewer main and service laterals out to the back of the sidewalk, if the homeowner has vitrified clay service laterals, which a lot of these homes do, if they replace it from where we stop to the home, to the basement, we'll take and forgive the special assessment associated with the sanitary sewer lateral, plus we'll give them a check for $100 or $1,000 to help them with their plumber cost. So that's another option that's out there for this.
Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 8, approval of preliminary resolutions for 2020 special assessments projects, presented by Tom Turchie, City Engineer. Tom.
All right, resolution 2020-03 is projects 312241 for street construction, 312242 water main and service laterals, 316777 for storm sewer and service laterals, and 352141 sanitary sewer and service laterals for Chestnut Avenue or Chestnut Street from Central Avenue to Doege Street, Chestnut Avenue from Cleveland Street to Blodgett Street, Oak Avenue from Cleveland Street to Blodgett Street, and Pine Avenue from Cleveland Street to Blodgett Street. And that's for basically for concrete curb and gutter paving, asphalt street paving, concrete aprons, and all the other items that go with that. I won't read all the assessment district. And the second one is Resolution 2020-04, which is our preliminary resolution for our mill in place projects that will be taking place here this following summer. Those projects are 13th Street, Adams Avenue to Locust Avenue, Locust Avenue from 13th Street to 14th Street, 25th Street, Felker Avenue to Butternut Parkway, 4th Street, Larch Avenue to Mulberry Avenue, Mulberry Avenue, 4th Street to the cul-de-sac north, the alley of Central to Maple, Cleveland to Bodgett, and the alley Central to Maple, Doege to Edison, Apple Avenue, Doege Street to Cleveland Street, Cleveland Street, Apple Avenue to Palmetto Avenue, Ash Avenue from Becker Road to Franklin Street, Fairview Drive from Schmidt Avenue to the cul-de-sac west, Hume Avenue from Blodgett Street to Fillmore Street, Schmidt Avenue from 14th Street to 17th Street, and 26th Street from Felker Avenue to Washington Avenue. And basically this is following our mill in place program where we do a new surface, fix the ditches, add under drain, and repave asphalt driveways. I'd recommend approval of Resolution 2020-03, and I'd also recommend approval 2020-04.
Motion by Mr. Jokic, second by Mr. Fire. Comments, questions? All in favor of the, Dan, did you have something?
I just want to clarify if that's for both or.
Yeah, the motion's for both, is it not? Okay. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Those opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Number 9, recommended items for future agendas. Mr. Jokic.
Point out, well, first meeting in February.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Bargander. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.